Hello, and welcome to the RCD ShareNet. My name's Dave Thompson. I'm the Community Outreach Coordinator here, and we are on the chance of changing to new topics at the ShareNet, and we want to discuss a little intro and discuss how it's going and how excited we are about the reactions that we've had over the last 3 months. And I'm here with my trusted sidekick, Billy, and Ella Huang, our boss.
Hi, Dave and Billy. Well, it's very exciting to have Billy together on the video. That's my first time. I know you have him on for some videos, but that is a neat
Voluntarily and non-voluntarily sometimes.
Yeah, we actually spend quite a bit of time, putting the camera on Billy, but this is difficult because, with the angle and everything. And then we hope that he will remain still. Or at least okay, you can fall asleep. He's falling asleep.
Yeah, then he starts to snore, so I have to keep him away from the microphone.
Okay, yeah. And that was really nice, appearing on the same screen with you. I don't think we have done that maybe since the very, very beginning of the ShareNet project. Yeah. So in the past 3 months, we had some exciting videos, broadcasted on YouTube. And you contributed a major part of it.
Yeah, I interviewed several people after our student Oliver had to finish his time here, and really got some good feedback on people enjoying the lived experience, and the chance that you with me and my illness, I find that's the big thing, is that you can get lots of stuff on Dr. Google.
Yes.
You can talk to lots of doctors, but it's not as easy to get that lived experience because you have to be in the right setting.
Yes.
A lot of times, and you have to get the person may not want to talk about it or talk about it. So there's just so many variables. So people really enjoyed that.
Absolutely,
definitely.
yes. Yeah. And just to kind of, include everyone in, the theme for the first quarter of 2022 was on disability information. So we, in the original planning, we thought that might be an interesting topic to share with the audience. And the major part is we added in, as Dave mentioned earlier, the interview of a person with lived experience.
Yeah, and we kind of took it from, I was explaining it to people when I phoned them to ask them to come on, is that kind of, let's say somebody, a friend of yours phones you tomorrow and says, hey, I've been diagnosed with blah, 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 and you've never heard of it.
Yes.
And you just go out and try to figure it out. Not like we're not experts, we're not doctors, just, I want to know more about this because my buddy says he has it.
Yeah.
And we wanted to do it from that sort of perspective.
That's absolutely, good. And also we have a lot of responses from audiences with comments, questions coming our way. So thank you all for doing that, and keep your questions and comments coming. That would totally support us and also let us know that we're on the right track. So coming to that, now it is the second quarter of 2022. Now we are going into. So from April to June, so we have chosen a very special topic, a theme for this period. So go ahead and tell everyone.
All right, so we're going to talk about parenthood.
Oh, yeah, that is totally, not familiar for me.
Yes,
but I know that, you have a son.
Yes.
And now you're also a parent, maybe a friend
a fur parent.
A fur parent, I like that,
We call them a fur baby.
And then looking after Billy as well. So, it's parenthood come again, on call.
And we're doing all kinds of different aspects of it, like from the parent being the person with the disability, and being a parent of a person with a disability. And we're also doing wide range of ages too.
Yes, that's right. So when it comes to parenthood, of course, and disability, right? Because that is a very special relationship between, if you're a parent with a disability or you have a child with disability. So kind of that might change the perspective of the whole story of parenthood. And you being a parent yourself, and then I know that you also have some chronic health issue, then maybe, let's just from your perspective, why do you think this topic is important?
Well, a big thing is that because depending on your disability and how encompassing it is, there's always that sort of moral question is if you should be a parent. Are you capable of being a parent?
Yes.
And there's legal issues, and there's people that say things and, you know, and things like that. So that's one aspect of it. There's people that have even, you know, the risk of having their children taken away.
Wow.
Right? Because
that is scary.
If they don't think that they're capable physically to be a parent, right? So that's a contentious issue for a lot of people, and we don't really talk about that specifically, but it is something that you're always sort of thinking about in the back of your mind, right?
Yeah, and that is really a real issue, you know, until I had a very thorough talk with Dave. Initially people are just simply thinking, you know, if you is the parent with a disability, how do you look after the child? How do you raise the child? Or if that's a child with disabilities, you know, what kind of modification or adaptation in the parenting techniques and skills and communication need to happen. However, we haven't really looked into the psychological side of all this, right? You mentioned, I remember that when you talk about the guilt, you know, like not afraid that not able to provide your child with the best care, best support.
Or to let your illness sort of affect him, and so he doesn't have the same things that other people may have had or other normal childhoods. I always call it the collateral damage.
Yes.
Right?
But that's interesting, you know, talking to parents with disabilities or parents looking after a child with disabilities. I can sense some of the, you know, all the negative side, the emotion and the feelings you mentioned. But a lot of them are also very proud of what they have done. And their whole mind, you know, like to provide the best care for their children, regardless of disability on each part, on whether, you know, like which party, it's the same. The love is universal. And the care is universal. I think that really impacts me a lot, right? So maybe when we go back a little bit, you know, like when we talk about parenting and disability, we always think of, oh, you might have a child with disabilities. But we actually start the series with parents with disabilities, right?
And I found a lot of people seem to, and I wasn't really thinking of even it for me because I never really thought of it, but they all seem to have a real proudness around how their child was formed because of their disability. Yes, they may have missed out on this, and this, but you should see how good he is at this. Or he's really, this part of his personality is extremely developed because he was able to witness this younger in his life, sort of thing, right?
That's totally
Not
true.
to be a spoiler alert or anything, but that sort of things.
And the other thing that came around quite a bit was during all the interviews was, you know, like the child or the children, you know, cared by a parent with disabilities, they seem to grow up with a lot of empathy with them. You know, like sometimes we, you know, wonder, you know, like as a parent with disabilities, will your child be able to understand what's going on? And in fact, that actually would teach the child a lot about the real world with empathy, you know, like the feeling towards, you know, the support for people with disabilities. Do you feel that way?
Oh yeah, one person even said, you know, my son finds the one kid that no one else talks to every class, and that's the person he makes friends with first.
Wow.
Because the little, you know, see, he just goes out and goes,
Yes.
I'm going to make sure that person's included.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah, I think that is some of the I wouldn't call it the side effect, some of the, you know, the consequence that may come out.
The silver lining.
Yes, the silver lining. That's well said. You know, like, oh, you know, like, and when I hear those stories, it really moves me. You know, like with all that. So the other part of the series with this year is the interview of a person with lived experience. So I know you actually were the main character of one episode.
Yes. Yes.
So you shared your story, and then with the interview as well, right?
Yeah.
So now it's interesting to see, you know, now you're not at this side of the microphone,
Yes,
but now
yeah.
you're on the other side. So when you hear those questions, what were you thinking at that time?
Well, I wondered, we did it, and I wondered if it came off a certain way, but I think it all depends on your story. And all of them came out to, it seems like everything kind of comes around. It just comes around in a different time. And I remembered some stuff that I hadn't even thought of in years. I remember. And then it came up when I was writing the stuff and I went, oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah. And I hadn't really even thought of it,
God, so you stir some feelings,
yeah.
some emotion.
And I remember going to my wife and saying, remember I had to do that? And it's just, oh yeah, I forgot. Yeah.
That's so true. A lot of times we are so deeply involved, we don't see what's happening or what the outcome, good or bad, or mostly, in most of our stories, there are good outcomes and that come along. And a lot of parents, I must say, they never give themselves credit.
Like we used to go to a play place where there was a lot of families and you just sort of let your kid run in a big gym with toys. But I was always really concerned that the parents would see how I had to lift him and carry him and adapt. And I didn't want to have to explain that all the time. So I always insisted that my wife come with us. And I had totally blocked that memory out for the longest time. And I said, yeah, I remember that because I didn't want to have to explain every single time I moved 2 feet and talked to another family about why I'm lifting him with a blanket or whatever, right?
Yes. But that is, like those, I have to say they're all good memories. And also the main thing is everyone is different and every story, every family, they're different. So, we're not saying what you hear in the stories, maybe, you need to do the same. That is not. It is just giving you some wider perspective. Understanding that a lot of options in life you can choose from. Even just making the decision, if you're for a parent with disability, making the decision to have a child, it is a huge endeavor. And the same way, for a parent to raise a child with disabilities is also, it is a 24/7 job. And of course, there are a lot of joy coming out of that. And then that needs to be shared and some of the experience and the lessons to share. So Dave, let's go into a little bit when we plan for the schedule, like say we want to include a diverse group of people. So, tell us, you interview some parents with disabilities. And so the one with Eileen Davidson, that is your old friend.
And she has arthritis or rheumatoid arthritis. And it's funny because actually I have a niece who's going to be visiting us in April because her daughter now has been diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis. She's 10. And so she's going to come here for a specialist appointment. So I've hooked her up with Eileen because they're around the same ages and stuff. And
that's so awesome.
Yeah, so that was, and she was very young. So so she's much different than me in the fact that she is very focused on research because it could change in her lifetime. Of course. Right? And so you have to kind of see where you're at.
So that is also the peer support piece that we're always talking about. We don't need to feel isolated when we are facing issues and, there are always issues in life. And then sometimes when we learn that, there are the people also facing the same issues and they have different creative ways of handling that. So that would be a good time to explore more and find out more.
And we talked to the group in Toronto that are doing a parents group, and they say it's very much the same. It's that, oh my God, finally people get it, sort of thing when people come to the first meeting and they let their guard down because they know the one person said, I don't have to explain this every 2 minutes here, right? It's less energy. True. I just and that's. And that's important after a while. Yeah.
So that is actually from a parenting network and the in Toronto Independent Living Centers. So that is one of our network members across Canada and in Toronto. They run a very successful parenting network. So in the next episode, Dave will talk with them regarding some of the resources and why they started this network, and then some of the resources that they can share. So stay tuned with that. And one of the parents, they're all very impressive parents, including you, Dave. And one parent in particular I want to kind of mention is a mother who with hard of hearing. Okay, and then and when I read the story, it's very moving. How in fact the communication between this mom and the daughter. So the daughter is now 4-year-old, able to communicate a little bit, and that is very touching to see how they interact with each other, and the understanding of a small child of the mother's additional support or unusual support because of the lack of hearing. So stay tuned with that as well.
And she would learn sign language earlier and whatnot, right?
Mm-hmm. That is also very amazing. And we also, towards the end of the episode, we have invited a father to come and share, and the special situation about this family is it is a family of multiple members with disabilities, so the father and the children as well. So also stay tuned for that episode. And as a final word to this session, anything you want to share with the audience?
It's just a great chance because again, it's not the easiest thing to broach with other people. You don't walk up and say, "Oh, I noticed you all have a disability. Can I talk to you?" So I think it's not something you can just walk out of the group, right? So it's good to give people that chance, and then when they have a bit of confidence, then they can say, "Hey, okay, now I can sort of reach out and see those people," and that's the thing that it's hard to get.
Totally.
Yeah.
And don't be frustrated if you feel that, hey, I don't need to talk to anyone. So there's always a time to do things, for sharing, maybe acquiring more information. No need to rush yourself, pace yourself. But knowing that if you decide to do so, there are resources, support out there. You just need to reach out for that. So for now, we want to say goodbye to our audience, and please stay tuned for our upcoming sessions on parenthood and disability on every Monday afternoon at 3 p.m. on RCD ShareNet. And like us, subscribe, and comment. I hope to see more of you.
Hope you enjoy.